Everyone remembers The Devil Wears Prada for one reason. Miranda Priestly. She's demanding, she's intimidating, she expects perfection, and frankly, she gets results. Which raises an uncomfortable leadership question. If her style works, is it actually bad leadership? That's what we're looking at today. Let's be honest. There are plenty of executives exactly like Miranda. They've built billion-dollar companies. They've climbed to the top. People obey them instantly. So maybe fear works. Or maybe we're looking at the wrong leader. Because after watching this movie, I don't think Miranda is actually the strongest leader in the story. I think you'll be surprised who is. The reason comes down to one simple principle. Leadership is not about authority. Leadership is influence. Because power can create compliance, but power alone cannot create trust. Within 5 minutes of the movie starting, everyone is panicking. People are literally running. No one wants to set Miranda off. That's not respect. That's fear. Miranda walks into every conversation, firing off questions faster than anyone can answer. She never waits. She assumes everyone already understands what she wants. And when Andy arrives, no one explains the culture to her. No one teaches the expectations. She's simply expected to know. And then when she doesn't, everyone treats her like she's incompetent. And here's the leadership mistake, because being new isn't incompetence. It's just lack of context. One of the fastest ways to create an unhealthy work environment is expecting people to read your mind. Great leaders don't just evaluate performance, they create the conditions where people can succeed. That means clarity, training, patience. Instead, Runway operates on guessing whatever Miranda wants today. And oh my goodness, that is exhausting. But here's the surprising part. Despite all of this, Miranda's leadership actually works, at least for a while. The question is, what is it costing her? Because every leadership style has a price. I don't believe there is one perfect leadership style. Different situations call for different approaches. That is the agility of leadership. Miranda's directness clearly helped build Runway. You don't become editor-in-chief by being passive. But every leadership style has its trade-offs. One of Miranda's trade-offs is the environment she creates. There's this fear to experiment. People don't ask questions. They don't take initiative. Fear just pervades the whole environment. There's this one line in the movie that I think captures it perfectly. Andy says, she's not happy unless everyone around her is panicked, nauseous, or suicidal. Obviously, there's some exaggeration there, but there's truth underneath it. People become so focused on avoiding mistakes that they stop thinking creatively. And that is especially dangerous in an industry built on creativity. Even praise becomes criticism. When Nigel does good work, Miranda compliments him by insulting everybody else in the room. And when something goes wrong, she attacks the person instead of the problem. Healthy leaders reverse that. They praise generously and they attack the problem, not the person. People should hear far more often what they are doing right than what they're doing wrong. But here's where the movie shifts, because Andy does something interesting. She stops trying to change Miranda and starts changing herself. And that's where everything changes. Because influence begins when you start speaking their language. One of my favorite parts in the movie is Andy's makeover. Now, some people might watch that montage and think, oh man, she's selling out. But I don't think that's what's happening. Andy is learning the language of the people she's trying to influence. Fashion is language. And until she learns that language, Miranda literally cannot hear her. Leadership works the exact same way. If your boss thinks in numbers, bring numbers. If they think in stories, bring stories. If they think strategically, stop bringing tactical details. Andy realizes something incredibly mature. She cannot control Miranda. She can only control herself. That is the difference between your sphere of concern, all the things that you're concerned about, all the things you're worried about that you have no control over, and your sphere of control. It's that smaller sphere where you can actually change things. So instead of demanding that Miranda become a better leader, Andy becomes more influential. And suddenly, Miranda notices. Andy starts anticipating needs. She confirms appointments before being asked. She understands the unspoken expectations. And eventually, Miranda stops calling her Emily. It's a tiny moment, but it's huge because influence has begun. And then comes the impossible assignment. One that Miranda hoped would have exposed Andy as completely incapable, but instead it proves that Andy has become the best leader in the movie. Because relationships are at the heart of influence. Miranda constantly relies on authority. Andy relies on relationships. So when Miranda gives Andy the impossible Harry Potter manuscript assignment, what does Andy do? She uses her relationships. She asks for help. She leverages trust, and she solves the impossible. Not because she had power, but because she had influence. And throughout the movie, Andy keeps investing in people. She visits Emily at the hospital. She genuinely cares about Nigel. She supports Miranda during one of the most vulnerable moments of her life in Paris. And for the first time, Miranda drops the armor because Andy created something Miranda never did: a safe space. People don't open up because someone has authority. They open up because someone is safe. That is influence. Which leads to the biggest leadership lesson in the entire movie, and it's toward the end here. And it is that title can make you the boss, but it is influence that makes you the leader. Near the end of the film, Miranda's position is threatened, and Andy immediately thinks about the relationship. Everyone else is thinking about business, and Andy, through those relationships that she has built, fights to protect Miranda. Now think about that. The assistant trying to save the editor-in-chief. Not because she outranked anyone, but because she has influence. That's why I don't think Miranda is actually the strongest leader in this movie. She certainly has the most authority, but Andy has something far more durable: influence. Miranda can make people obey. Andy makes people want to help. One creates compliance, other creates commitment. Because sure, you can win through fear. You can build an impressive title. You can get people to jump when you speak. But if your people are constantly anxious, walking on eggshells, afraid to fail, you haven't built a great team. You've built a really fragile one. Real leadership isn't measured by how much authority you have. It's measured by how much influence you have. But hey, that's just my perspective. What do you think? Who's the real leader in The Devil Wears Prada? Miranda or Andy? Is leadership about authority or influence? Love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Coming up, we are heading back to runway for The Devil Wears Prada 2. Can a successful leader actually change, or does success just make change harder? And if you have a movie or a TV character you'd like me to analyze, just drop it in the comments. Until next time, take care.